Well, it is finally here, the Volkswagen ID Buzz. Have a look at it. How good does it look? Now, I have to say, I love this color, but for me, if I'm ordering one, it's got to be two-tone because that's how the old split-screen combis looked. So if you're looking at the story at Drive.com.au, you'll see that there's some options that have a white color and then the color underneath it. I think two-tone is the way to go. But how good does this fully electric people mover look? We've been waiting for it for a long time in Australia. Now, there are three different models of the people mover. There's a 5 and a 7 seat option. It starts from just under 88 and then you step up to just under 90, and then the top model, the GTX, is just under 110. They're fully electric, they look fantastic. Let's take a look at the cabin and then we'll hit the road. As you can see in our pricing and specifications story, there's a 5-seat version of the Buzz available, and the model we've taken the closest look at for our driving assessment in this video is the short wheelbase 5-seat version. However, we think the 3-row model is the one most likely to take the fight up to the SUV brigade. If you don't need 3 rows though, the short wheelbase 5-seater is the Buzz for you. Pricing spans $87,990 for the Pro short wheelbase 5-seat model, then $91,290 for the Pro long wheelbase 7-seat, and $109,990 for the GTX long wheelbase 7-seat, all before on-road costs. The Pro 7-seat variant positions itself as the smart money buy with a single rear-mounted electric motor delivering 210 kilowatts and 560 newton meters and 19-inch alloy wheels. We preferred the ride on the 19s over the optional 21s, especially out on lumpy country roads. If you want the 21s, they can be had as a standalone $1,900 option. While the more powerful all-wheel drive GTX is absolutely tempting, the single-motor rear-wheel drive model delivers everything you need. 210 kilowatts and 560 newton meters move the nearly 2,800 kilogram Buzz along with ease. And whether you're taking off from the lights, rolling onto 100 kilometers an hour on the motorway, or cruising up and downhill on country roads at 80 k's an hour, the single motor Buzz never feels stressed. And don't forget to stay tuned to Drive.com.au for an upcoming review on the cargo model, which has been directed at tradies and delivery drivers. If you're looking for a new or used vehicle, even if you're not shopping for a new Volkswagen ID Buzz, head over to Drive Marketplace for new vehicles on sale from our trusted retailers. The thing I love the most about a people mover, and I always have, is the sense of space that you have. We focus a lot on the fact that they're practical for families, and we talk about the second and the third row where applicable. But we should focus on what it's like as the driver, because if you're a family buyer, mum, dad, whoever it is going to spend a lot of time here in the front seat. Visibility is excellent. You feel like you're up high, so you do feel a bit like you're in an SUV. And the way Volkswagen has laid out this front part of the cabin is fantastic. Nice, neat driver display, easy to understand. Huge infotainment screen here that works really well with Apple CarPlay. And it's beautifully laid out, easy to see in any light. It doesn't get weird reflections on it. It's in a really good position as well. When you're driving, you don't have to divert too far off the road to have a look at it. And the general amenity of the cabin is absolutely as you'd expect from Volkswagen, but also really practical. This island moves backwards and forwards. You could take it out altogether to walk through into the back seat if you wanted. But storage space layered through the doors, cup holders here, little shelves everywhere you look, is fantastic for the family buyer. And if you're on a long road trip and you're spending your time up here, you're going to be just as comfortable as the passengers in the second and third row. Into the second row, and the practicality that we noted up front continues. Plenty of room. You can see how much leg room I've got. You've got these removable, or foldable I should say, tables, and they're really handy as well, because if you've got kids in the back seat here and you want to rest an iPad or something, you can as well. You've also got, and I'll grab my phone, a pocket here for phones as well, so you can put them there if you're listening to something off the headphones. It's an easy place to store your phone. Room across the bench for 3 adults. The fully flat floor makes a difference, because if your feet are there, if you're sitting in the middle, it's good. You've got room to put your feet under the seats in front of you. Plenty of headroom. This big, huge glass roof makes a big difference as well. Backrest is adjustable, so I'm not sitting too upright. I'm pretty comfortable here as well. And obviously, air conditioning controls through into the third row as well. Once again, this particular vehicle, even though it's electric, and you know, it's worth saying that electric vehicles still don't work for everybody, but if you're buying a family car, there is a very good reason that we tell you to look at people movers instead of trying to shovel everybody into a 3-row SUV. And this is where you start to see the practicality. You've got more room, sliding doors, easier to get in and out of. If you've got the 3-row long wheelbase version, easier to get into the third row. You still have some luggage space back there, and the practicality of a proper people mover is unmatched. And here in the second row, it's just as comfortable as it is up front. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a long time coming, the Volkswagen ID Buzz. We've been looking forward to driving it for a very long time. And it's safe to say that the public in Australia have been very keen for this vehicle to make it to our market. The one that I'm driving at the moment, and I've got to look to make sure, but the one that I'm driving is a 5-seat short wheelbase, the people mover obviously, not the cargo, on the optional 21-inch rims. Now, to be honest with you, having driven the model on the standard smaller rims, I'd probably go that way because the 21s do make it a little firmer, especially out here on country roads. We're out the back of Newcastle in toward the Hunter Valley, and the roads out here are quite choppy, coarse chip, usual country road stuff that you see in Australia. So I'd probably go with the smaller rims, even though the 21s look really good. Of course they do. That's why Australians have a tendency to option the bigger wheel packages whenever they buy a new vehicle. Now, as for the driving experience, it's particularly smooth, refined, quiet, and comfortable. I love the cabin execution. The tech works well. We've been using Apple CarPlay with the mapping at launch. It's working really well. There's no issues there, no glitches. The driver display is really easy to work out. It's quick to reference what speed you're doing and what information it's displaying. And just the general tech in the car is really, really impressive, really well put together. So that's a factor there. The other thing that I really like is the comfort. Visibility is excellent. Obviously in a van, it's one of the reasons that people movers are so much more practical than an SUV is that the visibility is fantastic because you've got big expanses of glass, really easy to see out of. So that's a real factor and something to mention. Then the drive experience. The actual transmission of drive to the ground is really smooth. It's not jerky, it's not on off. You've got a real easy way of selecting the regenerative braking mode here that you go from D through to B, and then what that does is it goes to the more aggressive braking mode. But the way that it drives is really intuitive and it's quite smooth. This is not cheap, but it's priced more sharply than we thought it was going to be when it was first rumoured. And therefore I think buyers who are spending up near this kind of money to look for a people mover might consider the ID Buzz as an option when they may not previously have done so. So really lovely thing to drive at launch. We'll obviously be spending more time with it into the new year once we get it through the drive garage for a bit longer because you can't always tell everything from a launch, as we've told you before. But just in terms of comfort, stability, and the way that it rides and drives and the way that you would live with it as a family buyer, I think it's going to be practical, it's going to be useful, and you're going to need to get your head around the range because obviously this is not going to go as far as if it was a diesel or a petrol internal combustion engine, but I still think it's going to work for a lot of family buyers if you've got the budget to stretch to it. Great thing to drive, really fun, and it should be because it looks like that from the outside. And I think Aussies who've been waiting for this to arrive, you're going to be really happy with it. Well, we expected the ID Buzz to be impressive to drive, I guess, is the word that I would use, and it was. This is a really, really good electric vehicle, and it's a really, really practical people mover. We've also tested the cargo version here at launch, but our focus initially is on the people mover because that's the one that we think will get the most interest. Now let us know in the comments section below about the styling. Do you like the look of it? And then also the interior practicality, because I have to say, sitting inside the cabin, It is incredibly practical in terms of storage space, the way that it's designed and laid out, and then of course the visibility is excellent as well. Now, as always, don't forget, if you're looking for a new car, you won't find the ID Buzz there just yet, but if you head over to Drive Marketplace, there's some really high quality new and used cars there for you to take a look at. And the full review of the ID Buzz, that's over at Drive.com.au. Don't forget to hit like if you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you stay up to date with all of our latest video content. And we look forward to testing the ID Buzz when we get it through the Drive Garage.